So quite a few things are interesting with Longwe Twala's red Polo, or should I say with Selo Twala's red Polo. One, we do not know who the driver was, so all my commentary is based on what the car records show, so what the car was doing. Who the car was with or who was driving the car, we don't know. So Baloyi has to come with proof to show us that it was indeed Ulongwe, or was it Selo? We don't know, because I even tried to look back at the clips from that night, the news reporting clips. All you see is the gray BMW X5 that Kelly Khumalo thought she was going to inherit with the death of SENZO Meyiwa. Shame on you, baby mama. Shame on you. But you know what? Asikolapo. We're not going to focus on that. But so Baloyi basically has this car tracker lady, former car tracker employee turned South African Police Services employee. She's now a sergeant, Maria Elizabeth, come and read in all these times this breakdown. So in part one, if you didn't watch it already, part one, I said the red car, the Polo, spent 2 hours at the Spaza house after sending the text message. Well, the phone records show there was a text message that was sent, and the text message said, "I'm outside," okay? And you know, when your sweetie sends you your message and says, "I'm outside," you know, you go outside, you welcome him, either you leave together, you know the deal. I don't need to explain. But in this case, Longwe did not leave, or should I say the red Polo did not leave, okay? So far, guys, Longwe is, we don't know. We don't know conclusively that it is Longwe in the car, but we do know a text message was sent saying he arrived. Who did he arrive with? Did he arrive with the intruders? We don't know. So that's why my commentary is based on the red Polo. And the red Polo is the one that brought its evidence to the stand, with Miss Maria Elizabeth speaking on behalf of the red Polo. She's not speaking on behalf of Longwe Twala. Unfortunately, I believe Longwe will have to come and speak on behalf of himself. Okay, so 2 hours, and then the car leaves. Then after the car leaves, the car then arrives at Sam Sekwati, and is there for 2 hours. Sam Sekwati, I believe, is the hospital. Either it can be where SENZO Meyiwa was, or it can be at there's like a clinic there as well. Okay, there's the hospital, and then there's the clinic. Where exactly of those two Longwe was, it's not clear. It is not clear, but the address, which is 9 Sam Sekwati, is to the private hospital, a private clinic. Okay. What would be good is if we also had the car tracker information for the gray BMW X5. That one is the one that's going to tell us when SENZO died. Unfortunately, he didn't die in the hospital. He was just delivered to the hospital. His body was delivered to the hospital, in my opinion, and he was pronounced dead on arrival. These are the stories that Tumelo and Zandi are telling. No, SENZO passed away in that house, unfortunately. Okay? I hope docket 375 has the car tracker records for that BMW, for SENZO Meyiwa's BMW. Okay? Then from there, what happens? They return to the Spaza house. For some strange reason, the red Polo goes back to the Spaza house. I can't put my finger on it. Why is the red Polo back at the Spaza house? And you know, this was around 22:10, so that's around 11 p.m. There were police there now. Okay? It was packed. Police, media, neighbors. It was busy, okay? There was a lot going on. But the red Polo was right there, inside, Pagati. And it wasn't just there. It was there for 3 solid hours. You know what? Yeah. It was there for 3 solid hours. And then from the Spaza house, the red Polo then left, okay, and went to Kelly Khumalo's house and was at Kelly Khumalo's house for an hour. The house where Kelly Khumalo and SENZO lived together, I think. Okay? Then finally, the red Polo returns to the address where the red Polo is registered. I'm not sure if that's Longwe's home, Selo's home, or Daddy Dearest's home, okay? The red Polo returns home. Now, this is where it gets interesting, and I'll put the clips at the end of this. After the red Polo gets home, or should I say arrives home, where is my English? My English is disappearing. After the red Polo arrives home, that's at 4:03:21 a.m. in the morning. Okay? The owner or whoever was in that Polo, or somebody else took the Polo. Do you see what the problem is with bringing the car? The car cannot tell us who the driver is. Somebody else could have been driving the car. So the car starts driving again. It starts moving again at 07:12:46 in the morning. Ignition is on and the car is on the move. Okay, the car is going, and it's going to Malvern. Who's in Malvern? I don't know. I don't know who's in Malvern. Baloyi doesn't tell us this, and this is what happens. This is what happens when you bring a car to the stand. The car can't tell us why it's in Malvern. We don't know why it's in Malvern, but then from Malvern it returned back home to Glen Vista. Then from Glen Vista, yeah, it's in Glen Vista for a while. It gets to Glen Vista, then suddenly it goes to Joburg. It goes to Joburg at about 8 p.m. 8 in the morning. So 8:34 in the morning, the car arrives in Joburg. Once it's in Joburg, okay, we're page 57 now of those notes. Once it's in Joburg, it goes back again to the house, okay, the Glen Vista house. Again, we don't know who's going back home. Is it Longwe, is it Selo, or is it Daddy Dearest? We don't know, okay? There's more questions than answers with this movement. And then the car is in Glen Vista. It's going, it's turning on, motion on, off. There's all that weirdness going on. And then from there, the car goes to Katlehong, okay? It's back at the crime scene. They're back at the crime scene, and the car parks. Now, this is what I think is crucial. The car parks and stays there for a solid 6 hours, okay? The car. Did the driver of the car stay for 6 hours? I don't think so. I think this is when they were taken in by the police for questioning, and so they were carpooling. So I don't know whose car they went in. I don't know how they got to the police station, but they did not take the red Polo. That's what I'm understanding by all this. Okay, we keep going. Then it comes back from the police station, in my mind, takes his car, and then it drives the car, and the car is moving again. And the car is moving, moving, on, off. And then it finally arrives. Where does this car get to? Goes back home at some point. Gets home at 9 p.m. And then from 9 p.m., you see, this person was very restless. Or this car was very, very restless. Or there were multiple drivers. There was only one car that everybody kept wanting to use, and it was the red Polo. Okay. So far, let me know if you're following. Drop a 1 in the comment section down below if you are following what is going on here. And then if we keep going, the car then goes to Joburg. At 10 p.m., the car is in Joburg, and then it comes back home again. And then after that, Baloyi is just asking random questions and verifying with car tracker lady. And then he abruptly ends his question and answers. And then, of course, Ngomezulu starts his very brief cross-examination. So this is the summary of what happened with the red Polo between the 26th and the 27th of October 2014. So that is the night that Senzo Meyiwa was shot, the night Senzo Meyiwa died, and the night Senzo Meyiwa was taken to the hospital. And then Baloyi follows it up with the activity of the human being that was driving the car the day after. What Baloyi was trying to prove, I think he failed at it. What he does prove is that Longwe Twala was inside Pagati, within, consistently there. If that's what he wants, if he wants us to believe that Longwe Twala is the driver, then he is proving that Longwe Twala ran out of the house, ran into his car, drove all over the place, But instead of running away like he told us, he was very much there inside, Pagati, making sure that he's inside, within. Nobody's changing stories. Do you see what I mean? Like he was too inside for somebody who ran away, for someone who was upset with his girlfriend or Jola next door, but Asikolapo, okay? It's not making sense. So there's more holes here. And the only people that can come and tell us the truth is those people in the house, especially Ulongwe Twala. And now guess what? They'll have to call Selo Twala as well because his name is mentioned. His name is mentioned. Baby boy has to come, okay, and tell us his involvement in this story because he's managed 10 years of not ever being mentioned. But guess what? Baby boy, you're in it now. You are in it now. We need to know your part in this Nganegwane. And let's not even ignore the fact that his description, if you put his picture side by side with Bongani Ndanzi, twin brothers. Well, not identical, but they're very, very close. Their height, their body structure, the way they cut their hair, the shape of their heads, too similar. Too similar. Allegedly, okay? These are my observations based on what the state has put forward. So the state brought us this information, so we're not going to ignore it. We are going to analyze it. And I took my time, okay? I took my time. You'll notice that uploads today are quite late. It's because I really wanted to understand this timeline. But then I also have the theory that the car tracker company is state-owned. Yeah. I'm not sure if it's a private entity or if it is a tenderpreneur, but that car tracker company is too closely linked to the states, or should I say to the South African Police Services. These are my observations. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it. I did receive a comment, and the comment said the speed limits show that. Let me find that comment. Let me find that comment. Let me think of one word in the comment that would make sense. Gear 1. I think that's what they said. Yes, I found it. Okay, this comment says, judging by the speed of the red Polo, I'm assuming that the man drove it using only in first gear, switching off the car at a stop and yield, and jump started using first gear, the vehicle to proceed from that stop yield. This man was not changing gears. I'm asking myself, what would have made someone drive that slow? I might be wrong. It's interesting though. So I don't drive in gear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I drive in car on, accelerate, go. I'm not a manual driver, I will admit. So this was interesting to read. I drive automatic, okay? I drive automatic. Yeah. So I don't have much of a commentary in terms of the speed of the car. I will say as a driver, though, that this is weird. It's a weird behavior. And then there were some comments that said, wow, a red Polo, and that's the speed they're choosing. And it was at night, guys. For me, it's because it was at night. Another comment says, let me see if there's another gear comment. Nope, that's it. That's the only one. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I am very curious to hear your thoughts on this. Yeah, this is interesting. I also did some screenshots. I did the route. I did Google Maps. I drove the same route as Ulongwe Twala. And I'm like, it wasn't too far where he was going. But I feel he took too long to get there. Why did he take too long to get there? Why did it take too long to get there? Maybe there were roadblocks. No. There are no roadblocks at night. Yeah, so I'll definitely be back with another video if something else sparks my curiosity on this. But I'm going to get started on that video I owe you guys, Bridgerton, okay? So expect that one as well. Thank you so much for watching. Let's go ahead and watch these clips, okay? And let's follow Baloy's bouncing ball. I made it very, very easy. You start and go all the way through to the end. Let me know in the comment section what you pick up that I might have missed. Thank you so much.
Just before I join to hit place the last entry, they're on page 51. at 040728.
51.
Yes, page 51.
Yeah. 4728.
Yes. And the ignition was off. Elderberg Place, Glen Vista, Johannesburg. Can then go to the next page, page 52. At 071246.
At 071246 at Helderberg Place, Glen Vista, Johannesburg. The vehicle shows ignition on, GPS unlock. At 071321 at Helderberg Place, Glen Vista, Johannesburg. The vehicle shows stop. At 071324 at Helderberg Place, Glen Vista, Johannesburg. The vehicle shows stop. At 071517 Renosa Street, Glen Vista, Johannesburg. The vehicle shows moving.
The next entries are not that important. It shows the vehicle is moving. If you can turn the page over to page 53 at 072608.
At 072608 at Kirby Bella Road, Malvern, Johannesburg. The vehicle shows ignition off.
Yes, next entry.
At 072805 at Kirby Bella Road, Malvern, Johannesburg. The vehicle shows ignition on.
And the status shows that the vehicle is moving until, if you can turn to page 54, the rest of the entries are not relevant. Page 54 at 0740 and 26 seconds.
At 074026 at Helderberg Place, Glen Vista, Johannesburg. The vehicle shows ignition off.
Next entry.
At 080541 at Helderberg Place, Glen Vista, Johannesburg. The vehicle shows motion ignition off. At 080550 Helderberg Place, Glen Vista. Vehicle shows ignition off. At 080640 at Helderberg Place, Glen Vista, Johannesburg. The vehicle shows ignition on. At 080801 at Taba Bosigo Avenue, Glen Vista, Johannesburg. The vehicle shows moving.
The next four entries are not really that important. You can go to the time 081434.
At 081434 Grasville Crescent, Liefde Vrede, Johannesburg. The vehicle is moving.
Speed.
It was moving at 20 kilometers an hour.
Just put on record the date again.
The date will be 2014-10-27. At 081516 Grasville Crescent, Liefde Vrede, Johannesburg. The vehicle is moving at 13 kilometers an hour. At 081531 at Grasville Crescent, Liefde Vrede, Johannesburg. The vehicle shows ignition off. At 081636 Grasville Crescent, Liefde Vrede, Johannesburg. The vehicle shows ignition on. At 081716 Grasville Crescent, Liefde Vrede. Vehicle is moving at 17 kilometers an hour.
For how long was the vehicle at this address, Grasville Crescent? At this particular time?
It went ignition off at Grasville Crescent at 081531 and then it went ignition on again at 081636. So approximately 1 minute.
The status of the vehicle shows that the vehicle was moving. If I can then ask you to turn to page 57. Let's start with that first entry.
The first entry on page 57 at 090325. Tabo Besigo Avenue, Glen Vista, Johannesburg. The vehicle is moving at 17 kilometers an hour. At 090410, Helderberg Place, Glen Vista, Johannesburg. The vehicle is moving at 24 kilometers an hour. At 090524, Helderberg Place, Glen Vista, Johannesburg. The vehicle shows ignition off. At 091940, Helderberg Place, Glen Vista, Johannesburg. Vehicle is indicating motion, ignition off, GPS unlocked. At 091943, Helderberg Place, Glen Vista, Johannesburg. The vehicle shows ignition on. At 091950, Helderberg Place, Glen Vista, Johannesburg. Vehicle is showing stopped. At 091958, Tabo Besigo Avenue, Glen Vista, Johannesburg. The vehicle shows moving.
The rest of the entries are not that important. It shows that the vehicle is moving until at, if you can turn to page 58. Page 58 at 095232.
At 095232, Kutlanong Street, Vosloorus. Vehicle shows moving at 19 kilometers an hour.
The vehicle is back at the address which was described in J7A as the crime scene at Kutlanong Street 13511.
That's correct.
Yes. Next entry.
At 095246, Kutlanong Street, Vosloorus. Vehicle shows moving at 24 kilometers an hour.
Just place the date again on record.
The date will be 2014-10
Yes, next entry.
at 095308, Kutlanong Street, Vosloorus. Vehicle is showing ignition off. At 10:0141, Kutlanong Street, Vosloorus. Vehicle is showing ignition on. At 10:0202, Kutlanong Street, Vosloorus. Vehicle is showing ignition off. At 16:32:18, Kutlanong Street, Vosloorus. Vehicle is showing motion, ignition off. 16:32:23, Kutlanong Street, Vosloorus. Vehicle is showing ignition on. At 16:32:27, Kutlanong Street, Vosloorus. Vehicle is showing stopped.
Just before we proceed, now, for how long was this vehicle at this address?
It shows 095308, Kutlanong Street, ignition off. And then 16:32:23, it shows ignition on. So approximately 6.5 hours.
Thank you. Then page 59, that second entry, 1634.
16:34:38, Redfield Road, Spruit View, Katlehong. Vehicle is showing moving 30 kilometers an hour.
Since the rest of the entries are not that important, you can turn the page over to page 60 at 17:11:22.
17:11:22, Graspoort Crescent, Liefde en Vrede, Johannesburg. Vehicle is moving 24 kilometers an hour. 17:13:22, Graspoort Crescent, Liefde en Vrede, Johannesburg. Vehicle is moving 15 kilometers an hour. 17:13:44, Graspoort Crescent, Liefde en Vrede, Johannesburg. Vehicle is showing ignition off. At 18:32:37, Graspoort Crescent, Liefde en Vrede, Johannesburg. Vehicle is showing ignition on. 18:32:41, Graspoort Crescent, Liefde en Vrede, Johannesburg. Vehicle is showing stopped. 1832-46, Grasville Crescent, Liefde en Vrede, Johannesburg. Vehicle is showing stopped. 1834-12, Kliprivier Drive, R556, Rispark, Johannesburg. Vehicle is showing moving 19 kilometers an hour.
For how long was the vehicle at this address, Grasville Crescent, during this trip?
Ignition went off at 17:13:44 and ignition went on at 18:32:37. So it's approximately an hour, 15 minutes.
Right. The status shows that the vehicle is moving. The rest of the places that appear there are not really that important. You can then turn to page 63. Page 63 at 20:09:42.
20:09:42, Grasville Crescent, Liefde en Vrede. Vehicle is showing moving 15 kilometers an hour.
So the vehicle is back at the address.
That's correct.
Yes, next entry.
20:09:58, Grasville Crescent, Liefde en Vrede, Johannesburg. The vehicle is showing ignition off. 20:13:55, Grasville Crescent, Liefde en Vrede, Johannesburg. Vehicle is showing ignition on. 20:15:19, Grasville Crescent, Liefde en Vrede, Johannesburg. The vehicle is showing ignition off. 20:16:04, Grasville Crescent, Liefde en Vrede, Johannesburg. Vehicle is showing ignition on.
By 2016-04, Grasville Crescent and Liefde en Vrede, Johannesburg, imoto ikonekala istatile.
20:16:05, Grasville Crescent, Liefde en Vrede, Johannesburg. Vehicle is showing ignition off.
Ngesikhathi sika-2016-05, Grasville Crescent, Liefde en Vrede, imoto ke ibonakala ukhe ucishile.
20:38:06, Grasville Crescent, Liefde en Vrede, Johannesburg. Vehicle is showing motion ignition off. 20:38:10, Grasville Crescent, Liefde en Vrede, Johannesburg. The vehicle is showing ignition off. 20:38:31, Grasville Crescent, Liefde en Vrede, Johannesburg. The vehicle is showing ignition on. 20:41:31, Grasville Crescent, Liefde en Vrede, Johannesburg. Vehicle is showing stopped. 20:42:34, Klipview Road, Liefde en Vrede, Johannesburg. The vehicle is moving at 19 kilometers an hour.
Now, for how long was the vehicle at this address, Grasville Crescent, during this trip?
At 20:09:58, the vehicle goes ignition off at Grasville Crescent. And then 20:38:31, the ignition goes on. So approximately 30 minutes.
65.
21:00:18, Helderberg Place, Glen Vista, Johannesburg. Vehicle is moving at 17 kilometers an hour.
Then we can skip the rest of the entries. If we can turn the page over to page 66. At 21:08:21.
21:08:21, Klipview Road, Liefde en Vrede, Johannesburg. Vehicle is moving at 19 kilometers an hour.
Sorry, just a slight correction. If we can go back to page 65, the previous page, just plays that second entry at 21:00 in 20 seconds on record. You've already placed the first one, 21:00:18 on record.
21:00:20, Helderbergpleis, Glenvista, Johannesburg. The vehicle is moving at 24 kilometers an hour. At 21:08:45, Grasville Crescent, Liefde Vrede, Johannesburg. Vehicle is moving 26 kilometers an hour.
So the vehicle is back at this address again.
That's correct.
Yes, we will proceed.
At 21:11:44, Grasville Crescent, Liefde Vrede, Johannesburg. The vehicle shows stopped. The vehicle then shows stopped at Grasville Crescent, Liefde Vrede, Johannesburg, up until 21:55:16, where it shows ignition off at Grasville Crescent, Liefde Vrede, Johannesburg. Then at 21:55:21, Grasville Crescent, Liefde Vrede, Johannesburg, the vehicle shows ignition on. 21:57:02, Klipview Road, Liefde Vrede, Johannesburg. Vehicle is showing moving at 20 kilometers an hour.
For how long was the vehicle at this address at Grasville Crescent during this trip?
It shows stopped at Grasville Crescent at 21:11:44. And then it moves 21:55. So I would say approximately 40 minutes.
Right, the rest of the entries are not relevant. You can go to the time 22:06:45.
22.
In fact, sorry, 22:03:42.
22:03:42, Helderbergpleis, Glenvista, Johannesburg. Vehicle is moving 19 kilometers an hour. 22:03:45, Helderbergpleis, Glenvista, Johannesburg. Vehicle is moving at 24 kilometers an hour. 22:06:45, Helderbergpleis, Glenvista, Johannesburg. Vehicle is showing stopped. 22:06:54, Helderbergpleis, Glenvista, Johannesburg. Vehicle is showing ignition off.
Thank you. And once again, this is the registered address, as you've put the details thereof on record in terms of the RICA information, exhibit J1.
That's correct.
Now, that distance of, you just put the distance on record.
The distance is 7 kilometers.
What does that distance represent?
That will be the distance that the vehicle traveled in that specific trip.
Put that information again on record, from which place, from which point to which point.
That will be the distances traveled between Kutlanong Street and Sam Sukwati.
And that is keeping in mind that at 20:49:41, in fact, at 20:49:30, just put the location of the vehicle again, 20:49:30.
20:49:30, Lyseding Street, Vosloorus.
And at 20:49:41,
20:49:41, Kutlanong Street, Vosloorus.
this is where, as you have testified, the vehicle left this address, Kutlanong Street, then returned at 20:49:41. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So this distance of 7 kilometers must factor in that trip where the vehicle turned back.
That's correct.
Then trip number 78. It's on page 48. There's a distance that is being mentioned there. Just put the distance on record.
For which trip number?
Number 78.
Trip number 78, the distance will be 4 kilometers.
And what does that distance represent?
That will be the distances between Samsukwati and Kutwanong Street.
Futhi ke lolo hambo belukhombisa ke ukusuka emgwaqweni Samsquati uyofika nomgwaqo kuthiwa uKutlwanong.
So this will be the distance from Samsukwati Street to Kutwana Street as the crow flies, without having to turn back as we have seen with the previous trip.
That's correct.
And if you can place the distance between Kutwana Street and Grasville Street as the trip number 82. See that 02-1959, the ignition is on. Then the next page, page 50, at 02-41-37, at Grasville Crescent, the ignition is off. Just above trip number 83, there's a distance, just put that distance on record.
That distance will be 20 kilometers.
Ke ibanga lapho ngamashumi amabili amakilometer.
And that distance represent which distance?
That will be the distance between Grasville Crescent and Kutwanong Street.
The distance between Helderbach Place, Glen Vista, and Grasville Street, as seen on page 57. We see at 09-1958, the vehicle starts moving from Helderberg Place, Glen Vista, Johannesburg. And arrives at Grasville Crescent at 9:27:20. What is the average?
At 09-1943, the vehicle goes ignition on at Helderberg Place, Glen Vista, with the odometer reading at 209-201. Then Grasville Crescent at 09-27:20, the odometer reading is 209-205. So it will be approximately 4 kilometers.
Right, then it eventually arrives at Kutlanong Street on page 58 at 09:52:32. What would then the distance be between Kutlanong Street and Helderberg Place, Glen Vista?
Okay, 09-1943, Helderberg Place, Glen Vista. The odometer reading is 209-201. And then 09-5308, Kutlanong Street, Vosloorus. The odometer reading is 209,226. So approximately 25 kilometers.
Then on page 58, on the 27th of October at 10:01:41, the vehicle is at Kutanon Street. Shows the ignition is off. I'm sorry, at 10:02:02 the ignition is off. You see
That's
that?
correct.
Until 16:32:27. It says status stop GPS unlock.
That's correct.
It starts moving at 16:34:38 on the next page, page 59.
That's correct.
I ask you to go back to page 58.
Yes.
You've already given the total time at which this vehicle was at this address from 10:02:02 until it started moving.
That's correct.
And just place the speed on record.
At 16:34:38, Brickfield Road, Spruitview, Katlehong, vehicle is moving at 30 kilometers an hour.
Just back on page 58, from the vehicle, from the moment the engine of the vehicle is switched off at 10:02:04 until it started moving, what was the speed? Perhaps differently put, from 10:01:43 on page 58 until 16:32:27, what is the speed that is indicated there of the vehicle?
There is no speed,
Indicating what?
that the vehicle is not moving.
Now, ma'am, do you confirm the correctness of your affidavit?
I do.
Again, yeah,
Thank you, Madam. Very much.